Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today I wanted to talk about Ripple and XRP as well as the vast majority of crypto and finance. But I want to start off this video asking all of you, do you believe the XRP lawsuit is one big show? To a lot of people out there, yes, it is. To me personally, when I look at this XRP lawsuit, I believe that it is a major delay tactic. I think that the SEC themselves is, trying to create this major delay for the bankers to create their own solutions. I don't necessarily believe that Ripple is in on it, but of course you can think whatever. I'd love to hear from all of you. Definitely comment down below, and also like this video if you do believe that the XRP lawsuit is one big show. And even if you don't, definitely smash that like button, as it does help the channel grow, and I do appreciate that greatly. So over here, we actually do see breaking. A memo obtained by a Fox News reporter suggests that Democrats are aligning with the SEC in an anti-crypto stance. Democrats receive instructions to attack Republicans on crypto and back the SEC's classification of assets as securities. And you know what's wild about this? We just recently talked about Brad Sherman, right? Brad Sherman was basically saying that, the US, it already has regulations around crypto. And its regulations have stretched back decades. All these crypto companies have to do is come in and register. That's it. Well, we already know that that is false. These Democrats are lying, and the ones that are lying, if you look at their backgrounds, right, they are all bankers. They support the big banks. They've gotten paid off by the big banks. It's insane to me that this is still going on. And the craziest thing, though, is just what we've seen get posted around the SEC. So we do see over here, Justin, the SEC, says crypto regulatory clarity may take years and they're in no rush. Now, at first, it's like, okay, we understand that's going to take some time. In fact, John E. Deaton said 2025, which is roughly 2 years from now, or even a year and a half. Now, as we do look at that time frame, that's not too bad. I know to some people out there that might seem like it is, but what about 10 to 20 years? Yeah, that's right, 10 to 20 years. Don't worry, we'll get back to that here in a second, but we do see within this crypto regulatory clarity may take years, the SEC says. We scroll down here. Prominent crypto exchange Coinbase recently hit back at the US SEC by submitting a petition requesting clarification on crypto regulations. However, Coinbase disclosed that the response received from the regulators was not favorable to the cryptocurrency industry. And I do have that over here in a second, but we do see neither the securities laws nor the Administrative Procedure Act impose on the SEC an obligation to issue the broad new regulations regarding digital assets Coinbase has requested. We do see down here that Paul Grewal from Coinbase expressed his thoughts on Twitter. He explained that the SEC could take several years to provide the cryptocurrency industry with regulatory clarity. He also expressed clear disappointment with the SEC's response, referring to it as a resounding maybe. However, he acknowledged that this filing marked the first instance where the SEC formally articulated its position on how it plans to develop regulations for the cryptocurrency industry. Now, with this, we also did see the SEC acknowledge that it will continue to use enforcement actions as a substitute for rulemaking for the foreseeable future, but not to worry. Those enforcement actions may eventually inform not yet planned rulemaking. So it seems as though the SEC is going to continue to do what they do best, which is absolutely nothing, and still continue to target crypto. And we do see Coinbase called out. The SEC took shots at Coinbase as well. The filing further read, as Coinbase's own submissions make clear concerning the various paths it suggests is a necessarily complicated endeavor. Yet Coinbase filed its rulemaking petition fewer than 10 months ago, supplemented aspects of the petition fewer than 3 months ago, and sought to supplement the record again only weeks ago. What do you see down here? Overall, the SEC's response reinforces Coinbase's long-standing concern that our industry does not have clarity on what the SEC may consider to be within or outside its jurisdiction at any time, and it is likely to continue changing its mind along the way. We look forward to the opportunity to reply formally next week, and as always, we continue to appreciate the court's careful consideration. And yeah, we did see a lot of people actually really kind of fight back against this. First off, we did see from Thinking Crypto 1, fire Gary Gensler. I completely agree. And we do see the SEC Gov has filed its response to Coinbase's complaint over how it applies SEC laws, or securities laws, if you will, to digital assets, asking the court to deny Coinbase's petition for mandamus. We do see that Coinbase would like its policy preferences addressed immediately, does not entitle it to extraordinary relief, ordering the commission to act on a rulemaking petition that has been pending for well under a year. And we did also see Meta Lawman, respond back and says, breaking, SEC responds to Coinbase suit, and no surprise, the SEC is playing a classic delay strategy. Again, focus on the delays here, because yes, they're talking about how they're in no rush over here and how it could take years. And what we recently seen, I'm telling you guys, it's going to shock you. It shocked me when I read it. But we do see, here's what you should know. Coinbase is seeking a court order to force the SEC to simply answer whether it will or will not grant Coinbase's request that the SEC engage in rulemaking with respect to digital assets. The SEC is refusing to give that answer, not yet anyway. The SEC argues, 1, it hasn't decided whether to grant Coinbase's petition for rulemaking yet. 2, it's fully within its rights to wait years, literally, to decide whether to grant the petition. And 3, and it intends to keep right on suing crypto companies without any new rules. 4, the SEC did cite some case law where courts have denied relief to petitioners in cases where government agencies have waited years to take action on petitions. And then also, so the SEC argues, this slow roll of the Coinbase petition is completely acceptable for governmental work. 5, bottom line, it is entirely possible that the SEC will get away with this delay tactic, so the long-awaited Ripple decision continues to loom critically important. And yes, the Ripple decision is 100% extremely important, but the question is, like, how long is that going to be delayed for? How long are we going to wait for that, right? Because it's already been 2.5 years. I mean, it's been a very long time, technically, if you are looking at it, from, just a zoomed out point. Like 2.5 years is a long time in this market. Somebody said, 1 year in crypto is essentially 7 years outside in the real world. And it really is true. Like, this market moves extremely fast. So as we are seeing this drag on, it is very important. And every single day that passes, it becomes more and more important for the entire industry. But it does question, like, how long is the SEC willing to wait? Well, it's 10 to 20 years. We do see over here, 1 out of 5. Dear American lawmakers, let's be clear. The current pace of the SEC rulemaking is not only an embarrassment to the US, but a real and present danger. Chair Gensler, look at how wild this is. Cites cases suggesting that 10 to 20 year rulemakings are acceptable. Look at this. Declining to intervene, notwithstanding a 10-year delay in issuing a rule and a 20-year delay to achieve the rule's statutory objective. This is insane. 10 to 20 years. So if you thought 2.5 years was long, yeah. How do you guys feel about 10 to 20 years? Down here. Meanwhile, innovation in America is under attack. Regulation is being used as a cudgel to stamp out neobanks, payment apps, non-bank money lenders, and digital asset providers on the grounds of safety. All the while, OCC-regulated banks crumble with user deposits. One can appreciate that new technology can be challenging to understand the implications of and merits time to study. Which is why, despite crypto being created in 2010, it took other US regulators time to respond, but respond they did. In the US and abroad, that guidance came almost a decade ago for everyone but the SEC. The FinCEN, 2013, IRS, 2014, the FEC, 2014, EBA, 2014, GAO, 2014, and the CFTC, 2015. Then down here, while other departments figured out where they stand, Gensler refuses to provide guidance. The SEC wishes yet another decade for formal rulemaking on digital asset transactions. That's fine, but we can expect those transactions done in the yuan and not the dollar. And yes, as we do look at this, like, I question on how long are they willing to drag on the Ripple case for, right? Because 2.5 years, they're suggesting 10 to 20 here. Like, I don't think that we have 10 to 20 years, right? Like, we're seeing innovation outside of the US spreading so fast. It is spreading faster than anyone can anticipate. And it's only going to continue from here on out. But I'm on the side of all of these individuals that are pointing out these problems. Like, an agency that is here to protect investors would not make them wait 10 to 20 years to be a part of an incredible industry and allow for this industry to grow within the US. You know, it's not just projects that are getting completely slammed to death, right? It's also crypto jobs. A lot of people don't realize how large the crypto market is in terms of job offerings. I mean, you could look at it as 100 to 200 to even maybe 500,000 jobs created from digital assets and crypto. It's a big problem. We are seeing major danger here in the US from the SEC. And Jeremy Hogan actually did respond to Coinbase again. The Coinbase writ was never about getting an answer to whether the SEC will fairly regulate crypto. That's obviously a no. This was a Coinbase offensive against the SEC lawsuit against it coming this summer, and it got some interesting tidbits to use. We do see trial work is not really about the law. I mean, you use the law, but the idea is always to make your client look like the good guy. And the other side, the bad guy. Juries will always help the good guy. That's what Coinbase was after, and I think it got some stuff it can use. And as we do really kind of look at the SEC and when we look at Coinbase, I really do think that Coinbase is in a good standpoint right now. But I do question on what's going to happen next with the SEC. I mean, at this point, we know that the SEC is not going to answer for their problems. Like, I've looked at this and I'm like, I question every single day, like, how is Gary Gensler still the chair? Like, how is the SEC still, doing what they can? While we've seen Congress completely flame them in a hearing, we've seen a lot of people question the overall standing of the SEC and even Gary Gensler. But guess what? No actions are taken. So I question on, like, what's really going to happen here? Is the SEC ever going to answer for their, overall issues and their actions? I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. Like every single other major agency in this, country and everything happening around this country, like we see so much corruption and we see so many issues. And guess what? Nothing comes from it. So as we do look at the SEC, I do think that they are going to continue to do what they do best, which is absolutely nothing, while attacking this entire industry. And it's only going to continue from here on out with their banker buddies like Brad Sherman, and even Jamie Dimon, right? We looked at this with Jamie Dimon. He was calling on a lot of problems within, crypto, while saying, that we need to, make sure that we go after anyone tweeting about banks and things like that. Like the things that I'm seeing around this space and even outside of this space is just insane to me. We are seeing bankers calling the shots. We are seeing regulators, being close-knit with the bankers, probably getting paid off by the bankers to go after crypto. It's just a wild space right now. And also, the SEC slashed its $22 million penalty against LBRY and provided them to they provided them with a $111,000 fine instead. But what's crazy about this is the fact that like LBRY got completely screwed over. This was one of the, earlier cases that we were watching closely when we seen the Ripple case come out, because it was so similar in a way. And we do see the SEC thought it was okay to fine startup LBRY.com a $22 million fine for trying to comply, $22 million plus blood, sweat, and tears. It is dangerous to become an entrepreneur in America now. Thank God they reduced the fine to $111,000, but it's still not good enough. And we actually did see LBRY respond saying like, a few comments on the SEC's decision to drop its request for $22 million in disgorgement penalties from LBRY were mildly relieved, in the same way that one would be relieved that they're only being choked by one hand instead of two. The SEC's decision to no longer seek disgorgement against LBRY should be read as pure self-interest. The SEC thought they would lose and wanted to avoid a bad precedent. We've seen no sign that the SEC is softening its hostility towards blockchain generally. We are hopeful the SEC decision to drop disgorgement is a sign that they are ready to take their scalp and move on. As the most used decentralized social app, we believe Odyssey has a bright future, so long as it's not being harassed and abused by the US government. And I honestly think that, like, as we look at what's happening, I've looked at why the SEC has targeted most of these companies. And it seems as though it's a lot of it's centered out on decentralization. They don't want decentralization to thrive at all in the US, which is kind of comical, right? Because, land of the free, if you will. I don't think that that's what they want. I don't think they want you being able to, utilize DeFi, applications and earn, 20+% on your money. They want you going to the bank. They want you, in that cycle that they control, that their bankers, it's all about control. That's all it is. It's all about control. It's all about power and greed. They know that they're missing out on a lot of money within crypto. And even with what Ripple was doing, right? It was challenging this very large, if you will, I call it the mafia, right? It's like a mafia around the banking system. And when we look at the SEC is basically their soldiers. They're fighting their battles for them. They're strong arming the competition. And to me, when I look at Ripple was just one of the companies that were in their crosshairs. And they were challenging what the bankers were doing. And they didn't like that because guess what? Once you cut into their food supply, well, it's game over. And, Ripple was significantly disrupting their overall food chain. And, that's why they got targeted. LBRY, they were doing, very significant things around publishing in a decentralized way, challenging, again, a large market. So as we do look at a lot of these companies that are getting targeted, it begs the question, like, why are they really being targeted? Because if you take a step back and you really look at that and question why they are getting targeted, you know the answer. You 100% know the answer. So it's definitely interesting. Like I said, do you think that this is all one big show? Do you think, what do you guys think is happening right now? Because to me, it's extremely wild. Like that 10 to 20 year time frame is just crazy to me. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on if you guys have more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. As always, up to you all, have a beautiful day or a beautiful night. Wherever you guys are on this beautiful world, this has been Nick. Peace out, guys.